Pip pip chitio. How was that? That was pretty good.
That was phenomenal.
Welcome into the Bear With Us podcast. I'm Jack. He's Frank, the real Bear With Us podcast. God damn it. Bears, Frankie. It's 11:45 on Sunday, and the Bears have already won 35-16 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Bears moved to 4-2 heading into the bye. The exact scenario that we were kind of hoping for. We were looking for. So, man. Bears played effectively. It was a very, very fun way to start my Sunday. I've been looking forward to watching some other NFL games. Real quick, Frank, let's go over Caleb Williams' stats. 23 completions out of 29 attempts, very efficient, 226 yards, 4 touchdown throws, almost 6, to be honest with you, and 1 interception. Frankie, before we dive into Caleb, real quick, I want to get your thoughts on the overall game plan from the Bears. 35 points on the at home in Jacksonville. In London, I should say. What are you thinking so far, right? Did you enjoy the game? Did you enjoy yourself?
I mean, it's hard not to. The one thing that we've consistently said throughout the duration of the Real Bear With Us podcast over the last, 4 years now, we just want to be watchable. Like that is the first standard to get past. If we're just a fun team to watch, playoff Super Bowl, that'll come that's what we've been the last 3 weeks at least. It's been very fun to watch. I do think tomorrow we'll take a bigger deep dive into the slower starts and the scripted plays for the first 15 and all that. But as it stands as an overall total package, this was great to watch.
You know what? I was reading the Caleb stats, and I left something very important out. I gave you
rushing.
The passing throws or the passing stats. I forgot about the whole, running the football thing. 4 carries for 56 yards, a lot more willing to use his legs. I absolutely loved the RPO stuff. And really the read action and just being willing to pull that ball, because you could the defense was fooled both times that Caleb Williams took the ball. They were expecting him to hand that ball off to Swift, and just being able to see Caleb, be more willing to use his legs, I thought was absolutely great to see. From the passing side of the football, kid was just throwing ropes. Fucking dime balls. Everything was working today, except that one interception. I do think we need to talk about that because we can't sugarcoat it, Frank. And we won't. We've never done that on the Bear With Us podcast, whether we were talking about Mitch Trubisky, Justin Fields, whoever was playing Bears quarterback. We did not sugarcoat anything. That was an awful throw from Caleb Williams. With that being said, I absolutely loved the response, because after that, you could tell he was pissed off. And that's when things really turned around for him. And it's just something so refreshing to see the mental side of the game not just weigh him down. Like, he wasn't like, oh shit, I threw a terrible throw, that's it, for the day. Like, he came back and kept throwing and got better, honestly. Like, that was nice to see. What would you think of the interception, and then obviously the play afterwards?
You said it all. Terrible throw. It's one of those things though too, where it's not like he was fooled by coverage. It's not like he saw something. It was just a bad throw. And you can just take that, chuck it in the garbage, and move on just like he did. But here were my notes, because the one thing you didn't touch on, which we won't touch on much today at all, was the defense. But in my notes, terrible throw by Caleb for the INT, way underthrown. Bullet point under it, Bears force a 3 and out. Defense steps up well. That's a point. That's huge right there to immediately for them to get the ball right back. And then next bullet point, Caleb running well. Next bullet point, grown-ass man. Because that was when he lowered his shoulder. That was when he almost scored that touchdown. And then he threw the touchdown to Cole Kmet right after that. Again, the only point that stands and should be made about that, outside of it being a bad throw, is his response from that. Because, again, we'll probably have to say this to Bears fans, as Caleb continues to blossom. But every quarterback makes a bad throw. It is what it is. But we have seen in this town games, game plans, and quarterbacks unravel after a bad throw like that. This kid is already showing us he can throw it in the garbage, put it behind him, and continue to execute a game plan that is working very well. So to me, obviously you never want the throw to happen, but living in reality, knowing that they will happen, him showing us that's huge. I loved it.
And again, it's obviously not something you necessarily want to be compared to, but we saw the same thing from Trevor Lawrence, and Trevor Lawrence has been in the league for what, 4 years now. Like that shit's, like you said, those throws are going to happen. He knew it right away too. He was clearly pissed off that he made that throw. I don't know if maybe he just didn't see the safety. Maybe he just thought, oh, it's an easy walk-in touchdown for DJ Moore. But that being said, there were a couple other throws here and there that that one throw that he got to Keenan Allen right up the seam where he just,
yes.
Between two guys like that.
The ball placement.
What did I text you? I texted the group chat. Oh man, I'm gonna have to find it because it was probably my favorite text of the day. It was God fucking damn it, we have a fucking goddamn NFL quarterback. that was my text to you, because we just don't see shit like that in Chicago. We haven't since Jay Cutler. First back-to-back 35-point game scored since 2013.
Trustman, yeah.
It's yeah, that was Trustman. It's been a minute, Frankie. It's been a fucking minute.
You know, that's a weird stat. Not weird, but I would have thought that would have happened under Nagy because he got off to a hot start. I mean, the first 10 weeks where the offense was very good that year. I'm genuinely surprised they didn't do that.
I bet you it would have happened if they didn't have that bye week after that 6-touchdown game by Mitch Trubisky.
You're probably right. But even I wonder how much the Bears scored against the Patriots though that year. Not to get too off track, but I mean, because that was back-to-back games, was it not? The Patriots and Bucks, and the offense lit it up.
I think you're right, but I don't think they scored 35 points.
Okay.
Obviously they didn't, because then it would
right because the stat wouldn't be true then.
And stats don't lie, Frankie.
That's right.
Hey, run game, DeAndre Swift. Like I think we can confidently say that he's playing where he should be, because the Jaguars, while they may have the worst pass defense in the league, they still have a good run defense. Like we saw that graphic that was shown, and they have, I think it's an 8th best defense against the run. And DeAndre Swift, 17 carries for 91 yards, looked good in the pass game as well. 4 catches for 28 yards. Definitely a lot more of what we wanted to see from DeAndre Swift. Shout out Roschon Johnson for some of those catches that he had, where he, the one where he was able to keep his balance, get the first down, and then the one where he was able to make a nice catch from Caleb Williams that was maybe a little bit high. Frankie, 2 players that I think start. It's tough. It's tough to name my star of the game, but Cole Kmet, not only catching 2 touchdowns, getting up open middle of the field, long snapping too. Love to see that.
Yeah.
But it's funny though, because I didn't text you. I literally had deleted the text, and then they threw a touchdown to Keenan Allen. I was like, it's fine. I was literally about to say, I love what we're seeing, but I would like to see this game get Keenan Allen a little bit more involved, and they absolutely did that today. 5 catches, 41 yards, 2 touchdowns. What'd you think of Kmet and Keenan Allen in the passing game?
Specifically Kmet
game. Not for nothing.
Listen, he did well. Apparently he practices it only on Thursdays. You don't want him to be the long-term long snapper, but for an emergency purpose, he did phenomenal there. Listen, it's hard to look at Cole Kmet and say that he's not a top 5 tight end in this league. He's come a long way as a blocker. He'll never be an amazing one, but it's good enough. But just what he's doing after the catch, he looks more agile. We've had in years past talked about he's a little slow, but he's worked on that, or maybe they're just getting him in open spaces a little bit better. But that first touchdown just shows you what you're getting out of that dude. He's a grown-ass man. For him, I mean, that should not have been a score. That broken tackle was all him. So, I mean, credit the first touchdown pass to, for Caleb, to him. So he's been playing phenomenal football. Keenan Allen, to me, I'm right there with you. This was a game where you could have made those throws to anyone. I mean, let's make no mistake. The Bears are a better football team than the Jaguars. They could have, given those throws to Rome if they wanted to Gerald Everett, whoever they felt like needed a little pick-me-up, and they decided that the veteran was the one. So I love that. I'm right there with you. I think hopefully as you continue this momentum, you're able to, get them both on the same page moving forward. But yeah, that was one to me. I struggle to find a different word for certain situations, but it was a tad bit disrespectful. It was just saying, hey, we could have thrown this to anyone. We're just getting it to Keenan because we want to.
And there were a couple catches that, not just touchdown catches, obviously, but some of those 3rd down, 4th down plays.
The 4th and 3, so that slant was
the clear safety valve, which was, again, what he was really brought in here to do. DJ Moore, a little bit less effective today. 4 catches for 20 yards. Didn't do a whole lot. Almost had a touchdown catch to kind of salvage his day. Shaken up a couple times, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. I think, Frank, what's obvious is that this bye week, unlike the Mitch Trubisky game, I think this bye week is kind of coming at the perfect time just because there's a lot of injuries to this Bears secondary. They were, I'm not going to say they were lucky to win this game, but I think with a more competent opponent, I think the Bears might have had a more difficult time winning this football game. They were kind of bailed out, especially on that one drive where Keenan ended up scoring with the flags. I mean, Jacksonville just imploded on that drive. So I thought there were some things that needed to be cleaned up. A few injuries here and there. I'm curious if DJ Moore, I think he came back in after getting walked off. So hopefully it's nothing serious. But again, you have that bye week to sort of get healed up a little bit, especially in that secondary with Kyler Gordon, who was, I know we'll talk about a little bit more about it, on the official podcast, but dude, he was just flying around making plays, and you could really tell that he's become a true difference maker to that defense. It's nice to see. So hopefully what happened to him isn't super serious. It looked like maybe a hamstring where he was kind of pulling,
like hamstring or calf, something.
Yeah. So hopefully nothing too serious there, but we talked about it on the podcast leading up to this game last Monday. I want to get your thoughts because I said I think the bye week is coming at a perfect time. Are there any concerns from you that this maybe will disrupt some of this offensive rhythm now that they've kind of figured some things out?
Well, Jackie, what it will disrupt, because if the viewers cannot tell based on the camera angle, my desk is about 2 inches higher than it normally is. So it's going to disrupt what every Chicago Bears fan has going, every male Chicago Bears fan has going for them.
No, well, we shouldn't identify. Let's be open here.
And any person with a penis.
There you go.
All seriousness, this to me is coming at a solid time. I don't think there's like so much momentum where you're like, oh my God, like we just got to keep it rolling, like, to that Mitch game that from some years ago. But selfishly, like, Caleb's rolling, dude. Like, it's fun to watch. We're fun to watch. So I don't want there to be an off week. Like, can we just pick up an extra game? Can it be like NCAA and you're playing like an FBS or I don't know, the right terms. I don't watch college too much, but give us like a fucking high school team to play against or something. But no, injuries in the secondary. DJ's a little banged up. There was one more, the long snapper, obviously that'll give them hopefully a week to reassess that if they have to bring in another guy. I don't know if they have one on the practice squad. So it's coming at a solid time. But again, Caleb's been so fun to watch, dude. I don't want a week without it. But the one thing, and we'll touch on this probably pretty heavily, going into tomorrow's episode and then a little bit further, is this team. One of the things that we're going to evaluate with Matt Eberflus is, are you going to have your boys ready to play? Because the last 3 coaching staffs have not. After buys, they look lost. They look like they've had almost too much rest, or I don't know what, or too much freedom to do what they want, and they're all hung over or something. I don't know. So that'll be a big talking point. The bye week itself, I'm fine with.
Yeah, there were now. Again, we'll get into this a lot more. When for the official podcast, this is just some immediate thoughts. Still some disappointing things in game for Matt Eberflus. There was a challenge that he had that he could have made that he just didn't. I was a little confused about that. Some things later on in the game, it was fourth and 6. And he's trying to get them to jump off sides that would get them to 4th and 1. Just kick the field goal. Don't waste the timeout. I know the game is pretty much over. And block field goal didn't end up mattering. So it is what it is. But there were just a couple things here or there that I think still need to be cleaned up from Matt Eberflus's perspective. Now that being said, Frank, I'm gonna give you Caleb's stats going into the bye week, and I think Bears fans should probably be a little bit happy about this. 130 completions out of 199 attempts, 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 25 rushes for 169 yards, and then I think 1 fumble lost through 6 games.
And that's with.
Oh, that's not even. I'm sorry. Is that? Yeah, that's counting this. Yeah, it's counting today. I just wanted to double check. Yeah, that's counting today's stats. So that's through 6 games.
Yeah, and that's with, I mean, a week one that's just totally dragging these numbers
just throw
down.
it out.
You eliminate, yeah,
You
you
just throw it
eliminate that, and you're talking about on an average basis. That is, he's playing good football, man. Again, I just love, not that I was ever worried about it, but I don't like when people call us particularly homers. I know there's homers in every fan base, but even after week one, when we're talking about the positives of like not turning the ball over and seeing what we're seeing early on when maybe the stats didn't look that great, now that it's starting to come to fruition and people are like, oh, maybe you weren't that crazy. I love that. Like, we want him to throw for 400 yards every single week, obviously. Like, we'd love that. But just seeing the checks at the line and all the small stuff be there since day one and it start to, the other end is starting to happen now is beautiful.
Man, there were a lot of throws, and I wanna go back to watching the game, the all 22, to see, kind of look at everything. My favorite throw though may have been the one where Caleb he bails out of the pocket, kind of swings around, and he's like, oh, he's just gonna throw it away, and he throws it back to Cole Kmet, and you're just like, wait a minute, what just happened? And Kurt Warner was talking about it too, where he's just like, that's a quarterback who just has a great feel for the game.
Yep.
And hearing that from Kurt Warner, who he's actually been on Chicago radio this whole season talking about Caleb Williams, and he's been a little bit more realistic, I think, than most people want him to be. So hearing that from Kurt Warner, where it's like, all right, he was impressed by that, because it's like, how could you not be? Like that was special. And a lot of the throws, like I said, the ball to Keenan Allen, the ball to Cole Kmet in the end zones where he just puts perfect touch on it, those are great. But that specialty, that special play where he's throwing it away, no problem. But then you're like, oh shit, he completed that.
Jack,
that.
We are on the precipice of like a 400 or 500 yard game at some point this year, because we're as impressed as we have been with Caleb, his feel for the game, his ability to adjust to the speed of the game this quick, his ball placement and intermediate throws. Again, maybe this is a little bit harsh on him, but he's still not all that great on deep balls, but he's not far away from them. He's going to have a game, and it may not be super consistent throughout the year. Deep balls are tough to complete on, obviously, but there's going to be a fucking game where he hits on like 2 or 3 of them, and it just sort of completes. Instead of 226, it's like 380. You know what I mean? Instead of 290, it's like 410, because he just hits on these 70-yard dimes. It's going to happen, Jack. The kid's special. Listen, last thing that I want to say, because I know we want to keep this short. It is so insane to just watch a quarterback in Chicago, not worry about the stats, not look, because like there were times when we're watching guys, whether it was Jay, hell, before then, Kyle Orton when we were younger, Justin Fields and Mitch, not to down those guys, but you're like, man, one more completion gets him to 250, one more gets a touch. Like, I'm not even stat watching as I'm watching. I'm just watching him play, and I look afterwards, I'm like, damn, that's a nice stat line right there. Like, it's weird. It's a weird spot to be in as a Chicago Bears fan.
Yeah, I texted you, the fact that like the Bears have an offense that can drive down the field in a 2-minute offense and not just get a field goal, but score a touchdown. That just can't be overstated how few times we have seen that as Bears fans over the years. And this is not the first time he's done it, which is just, it's nice to see. And the reason I'm not as concerned about the deep ball stuff, like you said, with Mitch and even with Justin at times, it was like, oh, they're just almost there. They're almost there. And it's like that almost there was keeping them from having even good games.
Right.
Where now it's like, they're almost there. But he's also doing things across the middle of the field, taking easy checkdowns, getting the ball through defenders in the middle of the field to get intermediate completions. Like, he's getting that stuff. So those deep ball stuff that he's missing aren't as just like destroying and mentally defeating on the offensive side, where it's like, not every play is 3rd and long, where he's just chucking it up and you're hoping that it gets completed. No, it's more like built around the offense, and he's taking things that are being given to him. So that's why I'm not as concerned as, but that being said, like I said, we're not going to sugarcoat it. The deep ball stuff does need to improve, especially when you're that close to getting a touchdown. That throw just can't happen. But again, we saw the bounce back, and that was nice to see.
It was. No, but to round that point off, even in the 3rd and long scenarios, have you ever been this confident in a Bears quarterback? Third and 10. I'm looking at
No.
3rd and 10, and I'm like, okay, we have a real shot here to get this converted.
Real shot. Let's see what they dial up. It's
Yep.
not like, oh, well, throw this one out. It's just going to be a run up the middle
Yeah.
for 2 yards and then they'll punt. Like,
Yeah, Jackie, the mental expectations, they're just getting higher. And that's a good thing. That means he's playing well. That means he's living up to the expectations we had already set out. So it's going to be a fun season, Jack.
Yeah. No, very, very happy. Very good way to start the Sunday. Hopefully Bears fans enjoyed this one because I think it's only going to get better. And we got a week
Agreed.
off to talk about even more. So we will come back for our official podcast later this week. We appreciate you guys checking in, hanging out with us for this immediate reaction. Bears win 35-16 over the Jacksonville Jaguars, heading into the bye 4-2. Doesn't get much better than that, Frankie.
Yes, sir. Later, Jackie. Later, everybody.